Hello, everyone. It's Peter Kraut of Silver Advisor. We are here with another episode of the Pay Dirt Prospector, and where we interview management of companies that we recommend, but also companies that we personally own and track and report on. So I'm joined today by Jim McDonald, who is president of Kootenay Silver. Jim, thanks for taking some time to fill us in on the latest news at Kootenay.
Yeah, well, thank you for the opportunity, Peter. We really appreciate it.
Well, there's a lot of activity at Kootenay, and you've certainly been very busy drilling off your Columba project. Jim, tell us a little bit about how far along we are in the current drill program.
Yeah, so we started a 20,000 meter program last year. We've just wrapped that up. We've extended a little bit, and so now we have drilled a total of, with this program completed, we have drilled a total of 50,000 meters in over 200 holes on the various veins, mostly in the historically worked F vein and on the incredible D vein where we're getting those big widths and grades. And so that's program's wrapped up. We're waiting on now putting out the final assays from it, which will be pretty soon. I think within the next couple of weeks, we'll get all those assays out. And then we're working on the geologic model, which are vein models, and making sure that different veins are connecting properly. And then with that, we're in a position to be able to run block models, and this is all en route to maiden resource.
Well, so you mentioned that there were a couple of veins specifically that have been obviously producing really good results for you. Which veins are those? And what are the ones that you've been drilling off lately? Why have you been focusing on those as well?
Yeah, so really focused this last 20,000 meters, the majority of it went into the D vein because that's where our best results have been. The only one of the veins was historically mined in the past. They're called the F vein. And it's got consistent high grade over 700 meters of length, still open to depth down at 200 meters, still open. That vein is generally kind of a 1.5 to 5 meters wide and will have of high grade, and it'll have a kind of a medium grade stockwork around it that could be 5 to 15, 20 meters wide. Now, the D vein, which was never worked before because it's just not exposed well at surface, then the old timers didn't really appreciate it for what it was because it's kind of hidden. Now, the D vein is getting results like 34 meters a half kilo. 9.7 meters is 1,700 grams per ton. And then the true width in that would be about 5 meters, 1,700 grams per ton. Nearly 30 meters over 450 grams per ton. 1,000 meters away, there's a hole of 98 meters over 200 grams per ton with a high-grade core of half kilo of around 11 meters. True width is nearly 50 meters of over 200 grams in that particular hit. So, well, that's incredible. When we're looking at usual narrow veins being 1, 2, 3 meters in Mexico, these are fantastic hits. So the D vein is one of those structures that can build a lot of ounces in one place, which means you get your ounces concentrated in a couple of places, then it makes it much more economic. And you get key structures like that on these vein districts. It's very typical. These vein districts will have key structures. That'll be maybe it's one of them. Some cases it might be three or four, but they'll hold the majority of the ounces in a very concentrated area, and that allows for that makes everything else around them work. You can have dozens and dozens of individual zones that are smaller that work because you've got two or three really great zones that pay for the capital build and represent a whole bunch of the profit. That's quite typical.
So tell me if I have this right. There may be the way I see it, there may be a couple of advantages from having a lot of ounces in a concentrated area. One is that it helps to make the entire project more economic, and two, once this is eventually built out and it starts to be mined, it helps with the payback, right? So you can actually pay off your build much more quickly, and that makes it attractive to anyone who either might be interested in buying the project or developing it or whatever it might be. Do I have that right?
Yeah, that's right. Basically, it positively impacts all the economic aspects, your capital infrastructure, your cost of production. Your primary things there, those two things. And if you've got silver, it's concentrated in a couple of zones, most of it, then a much less capital build. And when you're getting those widths, I mean, as a rule of thumb in Mexico for narrow veins, 1.5, 2 meters, cutoff is 180 grams. That's a general rule of thumb. If you're looking at something that's 5 meters, 10 meters, or in our cases, in some of the widest holes where we've got zones of over 40 meters, that cutoff is going to be a lot lower, much lower. And your mining costs are going to be that much lower, so your cutoff goes way down. So when you're looking at an intercept that we have 98 meters of drilled length of over 200 grams, that all would be above cutoff in that case. So it pretty incredible to think of as a as a technical person who's worked in underground mines. We got to experience operate them. I was involved with helping operate an underground mine where typically we're at 1.5 meters. So to think of something that's 10 meters wide or 40 meters wide is just incredible. You can imagine it's the same amount of time to drill a face off that's 10 meters wide as one that's 1.5, but the volume of rock you break and ore you get is so much greater in the same time factor, essentially. So
Jim,
it's really positive for the potential economics of a project.
it sounds to me like the market is not getting it, or at least not yet. They're not appreciating just
Not yet.
you have. Yeah, I mean it's phenomenal. Tens of meters at hundreds or more grams per ton grade silver is, like you said, it's rare and it's concentrated. I mean, it has to be just so valuable, and you'd have to imagine that once the market really starts to get what you have, that the valuation on Kootenay silver should be considerably higher.
Well, that's certainly our belief. We've got these results to come out, get a maiden resource out, put a stake in the ground. People can see how big it is so far. The zones are all wide open, so that it's getting bigger. We know that whatever it is, it's going to be getting bigger. And I think the next steps, I mean, eventually the market appreciates it. You have to establish a starting point, then grow on that. And when the market starts to see, hey, now this is enough size to potentially be a mine, things really start to change. And so those are the steps we have to take. And let's not forget about all the ounces we already have in the ground in the other deposits that we have. And with these higher silver prices, they start to look pretty interesting. So we've prepped them to be advanced when we get into further into what we think is a really strong emerging silver market.
So Jim, my last question for you is, I guess something that, I mean, I've certainly been anxious for, and probably many other followers and shareholders are as well, but that the next sort of big step at Kootenay would be a resource, a maiden resource on Columba. And what kind of timing would you expect for that?
Well, we just finished the 20,000 meters. That's all going to go into what we do for a maiden resource. We're modeling that now. Final assays will be all out in a couple of weeks. And so that puts us in a position. I've been shooting for the end of April. That's probably going to be a little bit aggressive, but certainly in this second quarter, that we're looking at putting that maiden resource out.
Well, that's some big news for us to look forward to. Certainly excited to see what that will bring. And I mean, I guess on that note, we can wrap things up. I encourage everyone to follow Kootenay and the exciting developments there. Jim, thanks so much for this update. It's been great. We'll continue to watch for news and to catch up with you again soon.
Yeah, thank you, Peter. Appreciate it and looking forward to the next steps here.
Pleasure.